Today, I'm telling the story of a dog's life, from puppy to hometown hero, so come along as we go on an adventure with man's best friend. Our story begins at Henry's 10th birthday party. After all of the guests arrived, the party started with enjoying snacks and opening presents. And Henry got a ton of cool stuff from his friends that he was really grateful for, but there was one birthday wish he had over all the others. So at the end of the party, his parents wheeled out one last present, but this one was different. And when he opened it, he found the best gift ever, his very own puppy. But his parents reminded him that a puppy takes a lot of work and responsibility. After the party, he spent the rest of the night bonding with his new best friend, who he decided to name Spot. And after reading some from the dog owner's handbook, they fell asleep. The next morning, they walked down to the pet shop for supplies. To build this cute dog sign, I used the design from this set. Inside, you'll find a collection of all sorts of animals, from fish to hedgehogs. When Henry and Spot arrived, they spent some time exploring the aisles and looking at all of the different exhibits before picking up some of the essentials like food and medicine. And the owner was nice enough to give them some freebies as well as some tips and tricks. Back at home, Henry gathered up some old wooden planks and a bag of tools and set to work building Spot his very own doghouse. And even though it was built with leftover scrap wood, he was happy with how it turned out. Inside it, he laid down a comfy dog bed as well as some chew toys, making Spot feel right at home. But Spot wasn't always easy to manage.
What the?
Huh?
And besides making giant messes, he didn't always listen.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
To get some of Spot's energy out, Henry liked taking him for walks, but even that was a challenge. And one day, Spot got away. He had chased the squirrel all the way into the woods. He eventually got bored and wandered off into a lady's yard who absolutely hated dogs. And let's just say, Spot didn't make a great first impression. So she proceeded to call pest control. Before Spot knew what hit him, he was scooped up, and the dog catcher flung him into the cage, locking him up and driving off to the dog pound. It's built up with menacing metal bars and cages, and I built this sign that uses tiles for lettering that worked out really well. To try something new, I bought a printer and created some custom stickers. These wanted posters are for stray dogs and escapees who are armed and dangerous. The pound is infested with rats, as well as all sorts of creepy crawlers. Not to mention all of the other dogs who have been lost or abandoned, as well as those who never had a home at all. Needless to say, it was the scariest place Spot had ever been. Meanwhile, Henry was frantic, running all over the place trying to find him, and he thought Spot was gone forever. But eventually, his mom got a call from the pound. Henry raced off, nearly crashing as he leapt off his bike. Running down the corridor, he shoved the key into the door, and after unlocking the cell, he was filled with relief to be reunited with his best friend. But he knew he could never let this happen again, so packing his bags, he set off for dog camp, where he'd have the opportunity to spend time teaching Spot how to listen and obey to keep him safe. When Henry and Spot arrived, they were greeted by the camp trainers and their dogs, as well as some of the other campers, like George and his dog Scout. Now that everyone has been introduced and shown where everything is, it's time to build their cabin. To start, I gathered up a ton of round bricks for logs, and gave the entire thing a green and brown color scheme for a classic style that looks a lot like Lincoln logs. And by using sideways building techniques, the logs are actually threaded together. The interior includes a small bed for Henry, as well as a stool and some other knickknacks. This minifigure fur scarf is the perfect piece to create a straw bed for Spot. For cold nights, I used this light to bring the fireplace to life, keeping Henry and Spot warm and cozy. During their stay, Henry was able to teach Spot a bunch of new skills.
Sit. Roll over.
And besides all of the training, they also got to take part in a bunch of other fun camp activities. They went canoeing down the river together and hung out around the campfire, where they told stories and roasted marshmallows. And at the end of the week, they had not only made a bunch of new friends, but also learned so much together. As time went on, they made many more memories together, like the time Henry tried giving Spot his first bath. Another one was when they went trick-or-treating together. For it, I built this cobblestone sidewalk that's surrounded by a bunch of pumpkins and a wrought iron fence. To build a spooky tree, I used pieces like this brown hot dog and a handful of these spiky plants that allow it to have a bunch of leaves. A horde of bats streak across the sky, illuminated by the full moon. Another core memory was the time they built a snow fort together. For snowflakes, I used these clear glitter pieces. They built a snowman too. When the springtime rolled around, they were always anxious to get outside in the warmer weather, and some of their favorite things to do were to have picnics and fly kites. But they always had the most fun during the summer. They loved to swim and hang out by the pool, where they would enjoy snacks and drinks. Spot even learned some tricks of his own, and after a long day in the water, they'd both just kick back and relax while soaking up the sun. To display all of these memories, I made this black frame that helps present everything in a nice clean way. As the years passed, they both grew up, and our story's next chapter takes us to the park on a snowy afternoon. And from that day on, Henry knew that it was Spot's destiny to help others. So together, they joined the police force. But first, they needed to go through the academy. So I bought this set to get started. This police cruiser is specially built to meet all the needs of a canine unit. Its trunk is outfitted for carrying police dogs, but up front there's also room for them to ride shotgun. If you're hauling equipment, it comes with a trailer as well. The set includes a canine obstacle course, but it's small, so I added more challenges like these hoops that were originally for basketball. To graduate, every canine recruit has to master the course with speed and agility. Additionally, this bite suit allows for attack training. Spot wasn't the only one training though. Henry had to as well, practicing his marksmanship at this shooting range. During their time on the force, they stopped countless criminals. To keep things fresh, after a couple of years, they transferred to the local fire department. There, they had the opportunity to command their own fire engine. It was outfitted with all of the necessary equipment and features, as well as various tools, like an extendable fire hose, and of course, a bowl of doggy treats to keep Scout energized while out in the field. One day, an apartment building lit up, engulfed in flames, with a lady stuck inside. Speeding onto the scene, Henry climbed up to help. But just as they got to the ground, a shriek rang out from the 4th floor. Henry rushed back up, but then the ladder jammed. He was stuck. Without hesitation, Spot bolted up. Leaping through the window, braving the flames, he dashed forward, pulling the baby from his crib and carrying him safely back to his mother. For their heroic work, Henry and Spot were honored with medals for outstanding courage. But their story didn't end there. Henry settled down and started a family, and Spot was right behind him, becoming a proud father to a litter of playful puppies, each one following in their dad's paw steps, ready to embark on their own adventures.